One night, in the middle of World War I, two enemy armies stopped shooting. No peace treaty had been signed, and no general had ordered mercy. It happened on Christmas night, 1914, along parts of the Western Front. British and German soldiers who had been trying to kill each other the day before suddenly began to act like human beings again. War does not only destroy cities and bodies, it also changes the way the mind sees another person. A soldier is trained to believe that the man across the battlefield is not a father, not a son, not a frightened human being. He is simply the enemy. Psychologist Albert Bandura called this moral disengagement. It is the process where a person separates his actions from his conscience, so violence becomes easier to accept. If the enemy has no face, no story, and no family, pulling the trigger becomes easier. But if the enemy becomes human again, the mind begins to resist. The trenches of 1914 were not just military positions. They were cold, muddy holes filled with hunger, fear, disease, and death. Between the two sides was no man's land. It was a stretch of mud, barbed wire, shell holes, and bodies that could not be recovered. In that world, the human brain does not behave normally. It enters survival mode. Walter Cannon described this as the fight-or-flight response. When danger is close, the body stops thinking about morality first and focuses on one thing: staying alive. That is why war can make ordinary men act in ways they never imagined. Fear narrows the mind, hardens emotion, and teaches the soldier to feel less. But on that Christmas night, something interrupted that survival instinct. First, there was silence. On a battlefield, silence is not always peaceful. Sometimes it feels more dangerous than gunfire, because silence may come right before an attack. Then small lights appeared above the German trenches. They were candles, maybe placed on small Christmas trees. The British soldiers did not immediately trust what they saw. In war, even something beautiful can look like a trap. Then a sound came from the darkness. It was not artillery, and it was not a rifle. It was singing. German soldiers were singing Christmas songs. The British soldiers may not have understood every word, but they understood the feeling inside the sound. It was not the sound of hatred. It was the sound of men missing home. In that moment, the enemy image began to crack. The men on the other side were no longer only shadows with rifles. Henry Tajfel and John Turner's social identity theory explains how easily humans divide the world into us and them. War makes that division extreme. Our trench, their trench, our lives, their deaths. But the song weakened that border. It did not sound like them anymore. It sounded like us. Soon, British soldiers answered with their own song. Two enemy sides standing in darkness began speaking to each other through music instead of bullets. This was not just a touching moment. Psychologically, it was a break in dehumanization. When the brain hears the enemy's voice, it becomes harder to keep him as a faceless target. A voice brings back humanity. By morning, some German soldiers stepped out of their trenches with their hands raised. On any other day, that would have meant death. British rifles turned toward them. One wrong movement could have ended everything. But no one fired. Then British soldiers stepped out too. No man's land, the place built for death, became a meeting place for a few hours. Men who had been ordered to kill each other stood face to face. Gordon Allport's contact hypothesis helps explain what happened. He argued that direct contact between opposing groups can reduce hostility when the conditions allow it. Later, Pettigrew and Tropp showed through research that when people meet as real individuals, prejudice often weakens. On that morning, this happened not in a laboratory, but in the mud. A distant enemy is a symbol. A man standing in front of you, tired, cold, and afraid, is real. Some soldiers shook hands. Some exchanged cigarettes, chocolate, buttons, and small gifts. These objects were small, but their meaning was huge. On a battlefield, a gift says, "I do not want to kill you right now." Maybe one soldier showed a family photo. That kind of moment is dangerous in war because it tears through the uniform. A uniform turns a man into a category. A family photo turns him back into someone's son, brother, husband, or father. It is easy to hate a group. It is harder to hate a person whose family is waiting for him. The soldiers also used the truce to bury their dead. Bodies that had been lying in no man's land for days were finally carried away. War turns death into numbers. Burial gives the dead their humanity back. It also reminded the living soldiers that they were not machines. They could still grieve, still respect, and still feel. But this could not last. Behind the trenches, there were maps, commanders, orders, and plans. For the military system, this kind of human contact was dangerous. If soldiers saw the enemy as human, they might hesitate to kill him tomorrow. Stanley Milgram's obedience studies later showed how powerful authority can be. People may act against their conscience when they feel trapped inside a system of orders. That night, for a few hours, the system weakened. The soldiers acted not as tools of war, but as human beings. When the day ended, they had to return to their trenches. And that return may have been the most painful part. They had heard the enemy sing. They had seen his face, touched his hand, and maybe looked at his family photo. But the rifles were still there. The orders would return, and the war would continue. Leon Festinger's theory of cognitive dissonance explains this inner conflict. The soldier now carried two opposing truths inside him. One truth said, he is human. The other said, he is the enemy. Those two thoughts cannot live peacefully together. Either the soldier must force himself to see the man as an enemy again, or he must suffer under the weight of what he knows. The Christmas truce did not end the war. More battles came, more soldiers died, and the front lines filled with blood again. That is the darkest part of the story. Humanity appeared for a moment, but the system was stronger. Still, that night revealed something powerful. Even inside war, the human mind can recognize another human being. A song, a candle, a handshake, or a family photo can break through the wall that fear builds. The men who met in no man's land did not change the world. But for a few hours, they proved that the enemy was never just a target. He was afraid too. He missed home too. And just like them, he wanted to live.